that quickly segues into, the American prison system and its efficacy at whatever it is that it's doing. Other than, I mean, obviously it's effective at making people more and better criminals, but is it reforming? Are we doing the proper steps there as a culture or society?
It's literally the news.
Hey freaks, welcome to literally the news. So I've got Justin here.
Hello.
Justin was just here a couple of weeks ago talking about how much he loves stilettos, and a few other things. So we're here tonight to give you the news. So first up, Macaulay Culkin's weighing in on the Home Alone reboot. What's all Macaulay Culkin have to say about that?
Right now, I haven't even gotten that far. I'm just seeing him in his outfit there on the couch.
Oh yeah,
And yeah.
Is he dressed nicely? Oh, he is. He's like he looks comfortable. That's what I can say. He's on his couch. He's on his couch, not worried about Home Alone reboots.
No, he's not. I mean,
I don't think we have to tell anybody how stupid of an idea that is.
no. My kids actually watched it, and they're like, "Well, the last 30 minutes was funny, but the rest of it was kind of sad."
Oh, it's already out?
No, they watched the original Home Alone for the first time last
Oh,
year.
yeah.
Yeah, and they're, at the time they were 7, 9, and 10, and they're like, "That's kind of sad. I mean, it's funny at the end, but it's kind of sad." And I'm
Yeah,
like,
his mom forgot him.
"Yeah."
What kind of a douchebag do you have to be to have your mom forget you?
Well, and they all had different responses about the douchebaggery of all of the older siblings and how they treated him. And they all had their own version of why everyone else treats them, and they're the victim amongst the 4 of my own kids. So, yeah, they weren't as big a fan as we were when we were kids.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's funny when you're a kid just because you're dreaming of beating the shit out of some dudes who are fucking with you.
Just dreaming about shooting some dude in the nuts with a BB gun.
Yeah, well, why not? Who wouldn't want to? I mean, he did a lot of fun shit. Flamethrowers and whatnot. It was a good time.
Yeah.
I enjoyed the movie. But why do they have to keep remaking old movies and fucking them up?
Because there aren't enough writers to come up with an original material, and because the margin of what is acceptable material continues to narrow.
Okay. That's an interesting answer. I think it's just because everybody sucks.
We all suck. You suck for listening.
Yeah, and we suck for recording this and putting it out for somebody to listen to. And various other reasons. But at this current moment, that's probably the biggest point.
I just came over to look at his mustache.
Yeah, well, I mean, I can't blame him. My mustache is glorious. Believe me. It's lovely. But yeah, they they remake everything and it sucks. It all sucks. I don't know. I feel like there's just... people have... I think it's because the people have short attention spans. They just want to go see something...
Yeah, I was really disappointed. We watched the Lost in Space reboot on Netflix, and Jacob had seen, and he's everything into space, and so he'd seen some of the old episodes, and it's campy and cheesy, but he liked it.
Yeah.
And then the new one was like traumatizing, like the people dying, and he makes his robot kill himself, and like halfway through the series, and I'm like, you tried to do like Lost in Space meets Stranger Things. It's just
It was really weird. Sounds weird.
It was pretty weird. Actually, the best part of the series was not anything appropriate for kids. That's Parker Posey's extremely crazy character. Like, wow.
Parker Posey.
Yeah.
What a fox. Well, she was at any point. At any rate. Remember...
I mean, I used to think Winona
Ryder... Remember
Ryder...
a movie that wasn't a remake?
Any movie?
No, you remember a movie that wasn't a remake that Parker Posey was in?
Dazed and Confused.
There you go. Excellent movie. Not a remake. Great movie. There you go. See?
Yeah.
Okay, so we got that going. So when they do these, like, did you see the new Karate Kid movie?
Yes, that was terrible.
Yeah, it was. It was. When they do these, they do like a totally different interpretation on the movie. But they steal the storyline, so they don't really have to do too much writing. But when you think about it, how many original stories are there out there? Like every crime show is the same story. It's just a different protagonist every time. Or antagonist, sorry.
And I don't know. I think that it is possible. And I was a huge comic book nerd when I was a kid, and remember going to comic conventions and listening to writers and like, how do you come up with these ideas and everything? And they're like, you don't take two or three things and then make something new. Then everyone's just like, well, you just took the cool parts of these two or three things and made this, new character or new series or whatever. But you take the cool parts of like 12 or 13, and this is just one example, and literally like jumble them around like the magnetic letters on the fridge until you come up with, a newer concept.
So you're basically saying that the South Park Manatee episode.
I don't know that.
Oh fuck, dude! Like the writers for Family Guy went on strike, and it turns out that it was they were manatees were writing it, and they went on strike because they took off like a word that they couldn't use or something, like one of the balls out of there. They just had like balls floating around, and the manatees would pick it. And I mean, honestly, that's how most people get through the day, anyways. There's very little original thought these days, but it's not necessary for survival like it used to be.
No, but I
You have
think
to be pretty driven to come up with something new and innovative.
yeah, and the people that are, by and large, the people that are successful at it are perpetually successful at it. So you know their names regardless of the media.
Yeah.
Like Jeff Loeb, you know who that is?
It's Lisa Loeb's brother, right?
I don't know about that. I mean, he's been involved in he was a comic book writer, and then he's been involved in various comic book TV shows and MCU and stuff like that.
I don't really think that he's her brother. I just said that. Okay. Moving on.
Then I think he does original interpretations of iconic media, and he does that pretty well.
Yeah.
But I think Stephen King comes up with new and interesting stories all the time.
Yeah.
Because it's less about, the horror aspect and more about the human interest aspect of the story. And when you make the stories or the media or whatever about individuals' human experiences, then it's not too hard to get originality. I mean, you have common themes, but everyone's experiences are different. So
I don't fucking like it. I don't care. It's all boring. I want to see a remake of like a real classic, or to mash up something like Attack of the Killer Tomatoes and Debbie Does Dallas. Like, let's make that happen. Might be something that we could
Debbie Does
really,
Dallas.
yeah, mixed with Attack of the Killer Tomatoes. So you can make it kind of like a PG-13 type of a deal.
They'd mess it up. They'd do like Deep Throat 2020 and then have like some of the people who are still alive from the original Deep Throat on it. And that would just be...
I mean, it might be okay.
I mean, if you're into like octogenarians, like, okay.
Who isn't, man? Nobody I'd rather punch in the mouth.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, you don't want them fighting back. We've already discussed how bad of a fighter I am, man. I want to take them as old as possible.
I watched 3 of your fights that I could find. one of which you won, the other 2 you didn't.
Right. Which is not a surprise. That's about my... I was like I won like a third of my fights. So you saw an accurate representation of my career.
I did see though, when you flipped that guy onto his back, and I mean it was like 3 ground and pound, boom boom, and your arms are a mile long. I'm like, ooh, that hurts. Was
it the guy whose head was like bouncing like a basketball?
I really couldn't see his head because like where the camera was, and it's like filmed through a fence and everything, and one of them though.
Or was that the guy who I started pounding on him? He rolled over and I choked him out or whatever.
I don't remember. I remember you hit him like 3 times really good, and I was like, oh, like that's brutal. But one of them I thought it looked like it got called. They said you tapped, but I didn't see you tap. And
real fast fight.
I think it was like a minute.
Like yeah.
And he rolled you on your back, but you your position was weird. It looked like you could have turned your hips and you were out, and I thought you were moving to that, and then everybody stands up, and I didn't hear a bell or anything, and I was
That
just
might
like,
have
what?
been the one. Was there when did the video zoom in on a big puddle of blood I spit out at the end of the fight?
No, I didn't see
Because there
that.
was one where he ruptured my sinus cavity, and I was on my back and trying to swallow blood and couldn't really
Oh,
get out. Couldn't get my sweep because he was throwing. He was throwing enough punches that I couldn't block punches and move for a sweep, and then I end up fucking swallowing a bunch of blood. And then when I couldn't keep swallowing blood, I was like, I'm done, man. And I had to roll over and
oh,
yeah, it was pretty nice. But no, I fucking like I said, I wasn't a great fighter. But that if that's the fight, I think that was like my first actual pro bout, and that guy had like 40 fights. The dude he's fought in like a lot of big, or like larger organizations and stuff. But the guy I was supposed to fight was also his pro debut, and he backed out. So
no, you had it. I mean, like you looked pretty good in most of them. Yeah, it's
yeah.
hard.
Anyways, that's old news.
Old.
So let's talk about new news. So if this is a perfect place to segue into all the crazy shit that's been happening in the United States lately, with people being violent, having no respect for other people's faces, or no respect for the fact that other people just want to fucking live
have
their
it.
life and
Yeah.
do stuff. And so so the got elephant in the room. There were 2 mass shootings recently, the big ones that have been publicized. As you know, if you read the news, there have been a couple hundred mass shootings, but I believe that even gang violence that has 3 or more people killed, or I don't think they have to be killed. I think
No,
it's
that-
just shot, right?
yeah,
mass
just-
shooting, just shot.
just wounded. Yeah.
So even a like a gang incident would be considered a mass shooting, but those don't get publicized. It's just these ones, which I mean I can see why. It seems this is where innocent people who aren't looking for trouble, who aren't involved in criminal activity, are being killed in public while just trying to do their business, go to shopping or go to a concert or go to a nightclub or what the fuck ever, or kids at school.
Go shopping. Yeah, with kids
Whatever.
at school.
So yeah. So I guess Justin called me Monday after he saw part of Trump's speech that he gave, to try to console the country, I guess. And there was some kind of like double speak and Orwellianism in it.
Oh, there certainly was.
So Justin called me and said he wanted to get something going on. I was like, you know what? I'm always up for a controversy. So I'm going to lay it out at the very beginning of the show. I think that I don't think I think you should have whatever the fuck you want. I think if the government can have an F-14, I should have an F-14 if I can afford it. I can't, so whatever. But then that's besides the point, because we're not in that situation. So I can think whatever the fuck I want. It doesn't matter. And I don't vote, so I'm not affecting your outcome. So hit us with it, dude. I'll let you get started on it.
So I listened to his speech, and he made several comments, and I'm not gonna quote them exactly, but we are working on what did he say? Expedited, not background checks. Something about looking up or monitoring with social media. Increased red or looking for the red flags, and the government working closely with social media for early warning signs. And that was the first just screaming, thought police 1984. The government's going to start watching this, and our government has such a tremendous track record of, under the guise of, protecting us, we're going to start collecting data on everybody, like Patriot Act. Let's just record every conversation, every email, everything, all the time, and that just bothers me.
Well, and that's the thing is that I want to interject for a second.
Shoot.
Because that's something that really pisses me off about the whole thing. We already have the Patriot Act. We already know that domestic spying is going on. They admitted that it happened, but never told us that they stopped. Correct?
It's, as far as I know, yes.
Okay, so they admitted that it happened, never said that
They
it stopped.
only admitted that it happened after Edward
After
Snowden.
people found out about it.
Yeah.
Right. After a hero told the American people about their own government spying on them, committing crimes against them. So they already have all of this, and they haven't been able to stop this stuff now. They already have people. I mean, we're spending billions of dollars a year on the NSA, the Department of Homeland Security, on the FBI, on local police forces, local task forces. We're spending all this money already, and it's not being effective. What makes them think that? Not what makes them think. I know why they think people will trust them. Why are people so willing to trust them now? To continue to give them more power. Yeah, I mean, why would we give them unilateral? And people are willing to do it. It's the same way, though. I mean, a tragedy, people start thinking, you're thinking with your dick.
Honestly, I don't think that it's that. I think a certain portion of people are willing to trade liberty for safety,
Right?
and that is unfortunate. But these are the same people that they don't want to take an active interest in or a more active role in that. They want someone else to take care of it for them, and that bothers me. Like, self-advocate, look into this. Who are you voting for? Why? What are they? And I know you don't vote, but just in whatever it is you're doing, and willing to trade a certain degree of that liberty for a certain degree of safety. Now, that being said, I think that there is some a certain amount of appropriateness, I think, but I've always thought that about everything from firearms to who, how you do certain things, and we can get into that argument if you want.
So you're saying you think that there should be like universal background checks?
I don't know if I say there should be universal background checks. I personally don't think I would be that upset about that, about a universal background check. And you know what I would want?
What?
I would want a degree of mandatory training.
Well, I only oppose that because I oppose anything being coercive. But I can't understand why anyone would want to own a firearm without training, just like I wouldn't understand why anyone would want to have a car without taking driver's ed and learning from somebody else.
But
Or not driver's ed necessarily, but learning from someone you trust who you know has experience. Either way,
yeah, and
so that's the part. There are a bunch of dumb motherfuckers who don't think about shit. There's idiots who will get on a motorcycle without talking to anybody about how to drive the motorcycle.
There are, and I've known a ton of people that have owned motorcycles for years and have never gone through the motorcycle training course.
Training or whatever, yeah.
Or even gotten the designation on their driver's license.
Yeah, they're just out riding without the license. And
yeah,
shit, yeah,
which I'm like, that's the dumbest thing ever. But so there are people who will do that, and owning a gun and pulling the trigger on a gun is much less involved than everything, like from start to finish, of actually knowing how to drive a car down the road.
Yeah.
And so, and some of this is born of my opinion about that. It's born of my own experience here in Indiana, going from different like free open gun ranges, like shooting ranges that are at like some of the state forests. And then the difference between that and then going down to Atterbury and using their shooting range. And there's a world of difference.
Yeah.
And just the professionalism. And I think part of that universal training mandate, we'll call it, you have an opportunity to infuse a better, more thoughtful, more responsible culture. Now, is that going to solve the problem of someone who wants to go shoot a mass group of people? Absolutely not.
No, I mean, and that's the thing is that everybody gets emotional and everybody has, and I don't think it's I don't think anybody thinks that one thing's the answer to it, but everybody has their one thing that they use as a club in the argument, right? Everybody, it's ban the assault weapons, fine, whatever, but we're missing a broader point because we're missing a broader point because we have a violent culture, and that's a small percentage of the people. And I understand it's more frightening because they're in,
Well, you remember
because they're just out minding their business. I understand that it's frightening for that reason. But Jesus Christ, man, there's a lot of more people are killed by the cops every year, by like 4 times or something.
Well, and I heard. Did you see? Neil deGrasse Tyson got crucified for a was it a tweet?
He got slung out there, buddy, and it was probably bad timing.
It would
For somebody that what do you call it? How do you
intelligent.
Well, I wouldn't say that. I'm not saying he's not intelligent, but that's not what I mean. For somebody that prominent to say something like that close to like if he would have said it any other time, it would have probably not been that big of a deal. Like,
he
here's
probably
some
would have been
perspective. Here's
praised.
what's happening. Here's how people are dying. And that's the thing too. We have the medical accidents.
Mm-hmm.
That's 250,000 people a year die from medical accidents, and we're all clamoring for universal health care. Well, why aren't we all clamoring for universal guns? Look, give every house a gun. Maybe here you want a law. I'm gonna give you one law. Anybody over 18 has to be carrying when they're in public. There's the only law you need. Good luck, motherfuckers. There won't be any mass shootings. Sure, there will be people who get shot and killed when they get into arguments, but they ain't gonna turn around and shoot anybody else because they're not gonna be able to.
Yeah, that
And
would
you might get shot immediately for shooting that guy. So
Wild West.
Yeah, but the Wild West wasn't as wild as everybody likes to make it seem. It's the same bullshit we're taught. How nice the United States was leading up to bombing Hiroshima and shit, but none of it's true. They're telling you stories to keep you in line. The school model that's set up now is the same shit that they set up in order to make good soldiers and good factory workers. That's all you are. We're
Sheep.
all. I wouldn't say sheep. I would say we're labor. We're resources. We're a means to building wealth for other people in every way.
You ever seen a sheep farm?
Well, yeah. But it's a little different.
Well, but everyone's they're out here, and then as they get older and during certain processes, they're funneled in for feeding or or shearing or whatever else, and just from one process throughout the life cycle to the next, or a dairy farm. We're just we're here to produce for some such reason. That's one that opens up a whole other can of worms of what is the purpose of what we are all doing here, and why do we get up and run this rat race and deal with debt and do all this bullshit.
But and maybe part of that maybe part of that anxiety is part of what leads us to a violent culture altogether. But let's not be fooled, because violence is trending downward. Even in Chicago, where you hear about all this violence, it's in the isolated areas predominantly. In Indianapolis, we're like the 11th most dangerous city in the country. It's isolated pockets where the problems are. Occasionally they travel out of there a little bit, but for the most part, it's in certain places, and it's where that stuff takes place. Yeah. And what the fuck? We don't work on the police don't work on preventing anything. They're reacting all the time.
And I think some communities have, and I've read a little bit about that. Some communities have made strides to change that. That was why the Dallas police shooting was so negative. Was because
and that lady went in the apartment and just fucking executed the guy in his own apartment.
Oh my God! No, not that. Wasn't it a shooting outside the police station?
I don't remember that.
I might be having that mixed up. Like it was a few years ago. But I remember reading about how, they had, how we have the 10-point coalition, the group of pastors that walk around. Well, so they had specially trained groups of officers who just went and walked streets and the community policing model, we'll say. And I can get behind some of that. Unfortunately, those don't make the news, like the guy who was convicted for planting meth and weed on like 50 people. And
Yeah. Well, at
that,
least they got somebody for something. It seems like there's too much of a kind of, hey, whatever, man. You know, oh, man, well, oh. I mean, a guy choked a guy to death over loose cigarettes, and he's not getting prosecuted.
no,
And then they throw a fit when they recommend he's fired. What the fuck?
yeah, but you have to look at some of that, like that's New York. That's like looking at
Well, that's a big part of the problem we have here is we have 320 million people sparse relative to the amount of land we have. It's pretty fucking spread out.
it is.
I mean, it's concentrated in a few areas, but for the most part, the shit's spread out. And people have nothing in common with their daily lives to other people.
Yeah, you look at that example in New York and how people are up in arms about how that guy's at him, that cop getting recommended, the one who strangled Eric Garner, who getting recommended to be fired. Well, there's a whole other realm associated with that, and that's like this very protective bubble of the New York Police Department, Fire Department, labor unions, and that's like looking at a labor dispute in Chicago or in Illinois, and being like, that's you really can't compare that to the rest of the world because there's a stronger presence and much more corruption, obviously, in areas like that than in here in Indiana.
Yeah, well, and that's true. I mean, it's different in different areas. But a small town, the guy knows everybody. The cops know everybody, and the whole town's gonna rally behind him if something happens because it's gonna be some out of town douchebag who's fucking around and he's got to do something. Usually, they're just arresting dudes for drunk driving or go over because Terry's beating his wife again, and they're like, Terry, you go back over there, Terry. We're gonna have to bring you down here for good. We're gonna have to bring you in front of the judge and everything. You understand, Terry? Yes, sir. I understand, Bob. Can I just get another beer? I want to go back for Diana. So.
Dude, I remember in high school though, like there'd be parties, and I mean, I remember watching this once, and I mean, I'm playing video games across the street. I was not one of the kids who's cool enough to go to a party, but I remember watching this, and the small town, two police officers, the chief pulls up and gets on the loudspeaker, and he's like, "I know you're partying in there. I know there's drinking. Would please everyone, in the next 2 minutes, put your drink down and calmly walk out the back door. Don't let me see anybody driving away. Everybody walk out the back door and walk home." He's like, "If I come in there in the next 2 minutes, then we're going to have a problem." And you just see this line of kids, football jerseys and whatever, just walking out the back door. And it's like, I mean, did that solve a problem? No, but I mean,
It didn't create one either.
nope, didn't put a bunch of people in the system.
No. Well, I mean, that's what's fucked up, too, is that myself, I got arrested for possession and OWI when I was 19.
I did not know that.
Got off probation, and then a year later, so I got off probation after a year, and then almost a year to the day after I got off probation, I got a fucking DUI.
Oh,
So that made me a felon.
really?
Because it was habitual, even though it was weed and driving while I was high and drinking.
Now I'm going to go really off the rails. So if they ever legalize weed in Indiana, would that...
It doesn't matter because I have the felony arrest, and even if they expunge it, it will show up on like a deep background check. Anything where I need a fingerprint. So for handgun permit, for passports and whatever, it'll show up on all that shit.
So you can't get a passport or...
I can get a passport, but certain countries won't allow you in. I can get a passport because there's no violent crimes and or whatever, but yeah, some countries won't let you. Canada, I have to get special permission
to go to Canada.
Yeah, fuck Canada. But I can get into a lot of European countries still because they don't see it. They see it, they're a little less fucking douchey than Canada, which kills me about Canada. We're accepting of fucking women who are trying to force people to close their doors because they won't wax their balls when they're not trained to. But we're not cool with guys who got a DUI 20 years ago.
Wait, I'm sorry, wax their balls. What?
Oh, you didn't hear about that lady
No.
in Canada? Oh, shit, man.
Okay, this is news.
This is shit. No, we talked about this on the last one, or on the last episode or something. No, this chick up there. We're going to get back to the guns. We got to talk about these balls real quick. Talk about fucking the load. But, so this chick had it's whatever. She's something else, that's for sure. But like had filed. What do they have? It's the Civil Rights Board or something up there, and the Human Rights Board or something had filed complaints with them about 19 different spas that refused to wax her balls.
Her balls.
Yes, but she made appointments and never mentioned that she had balls. And then when she got there and they found out she had balls, they're like, "We're not trained to do balls. It's a different thing. We do pussies. Other people do balls. Maybe some people do both. We ain't those people." And so then she filed, and like some of them had to close down their doors because since they got that complaint against them, they had to go to court to face it, and that cost money for lawyers and all that shit.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, because I came to the conclusion, just wax your own fucking balls. Whatever, if you want your balls waxed, just use a razor. Let a little hair on them, man. I mean, if somebody's willing to get with a chick with a dick, they probably don't care about some hair on some balls. I mean, and I don't know. I mean, that's offensive. I'm sorry. Whatever. If she is, I wouldn't do her anyways. But even if she were a woman, she was not my type. And it's not mostly, yeah, no.
I'm just shell shocked.
It's the look and the tude for me. Like that's the type of person that I just don't want to be around.
Yeah, it's the attitude. Like I mean,
Yeah.
like I
But I don't let me get stripped. Even if she had no attitude or the perfect attitude, would not fuck her. Okay, let's not get to mess up here. It's not gonna happen.
he wants that abundantly clear.
I do, because I don't want this to be misconstrued. I know I like to leave stuff open-ended when guests talk about their sex lives and let people guess for themselves. But I'm leaving this out there. This chick, not my type. So, anyways, back to this bullshit. So, yeah, so Trump, what he did say was that he wanted... Yeah, I'm going right back into it after we talk about
I'm trying to contain the laughter.
So he says that he wants the Department of Justice to work closely with social media companies to monitor and try to catch this shit before it happens.
And I just see that,
which means that they're gonna take stuff that people are saying totally out of context, and they're gonna waste time on a lot of leads and be violating the rights of a whole lot of people in order to maybe catch one or two. And it's the same with the terror shit. They admitted themselves did all this wiretapping and really only used it to catch. I mean, they did catch some people, but is it worth violating the rights of all those other people to catch one or two people? I think it's the opposite. I think it's better to let 3 murderers go free than to kill one innocent guy. Personally,
and that's the thing. Like,
are you anti-death penalty?
Anti-death penalty. Yes, and here's why. Because I could never.
Judgment is Jesus is alone.
No.
Okay.
No. I couldn't. I wouldn't want to. I wouldn't want to do that. I wouldn't want to have to be the one to make that decision. I wouldn't want to have to be be responsible for making that decision, or flipping the switch or injecting. I wouldn't want to do that. I do think that there is a social function in that it is a behavioral deterrent to a certain degree.
Maybe. I don't know, man.
But I mean, you look at maybe the last few years since that the whole process becomes so elongated, but it quickly segues into the American prison system and its efficacy at whatever it is that it's doing. Other than, I mean, obviously it's effective at making people more and better criminals, but is it reforming? Are we doing the proper steps there as a culture or society? And I don't think anybody would say we are.
Fuck no.
No, we're not.
Not even close.
So I don't, I think it's media and political leverage, and it's emotional leverage, and I don't think that's a reason to do that. Now, are there times, but I would not say, I would say that I'm anti-war, but I wouldn't say that I'm anti-military.
Well, I don't think that you can be anti-war and not be anti-military, because what the fuck is... Just like Donald Trump said, we build them, why wouldn't we use them? We've got it, why wouldn't we use it?
Because, but I don't... I don't think that the conventional military model exists for the presented purpose that it, people say, it's to defend our country. And after,
To launch offensives against other countries.
if
That's
yeah,
the actual point of it right now.
but there, if you want to be effective at war or at defense, there are better models than conventional military,
Right.
mass troops. But that has a different kind of cost, and those people, certain special operations group or special functions, they also have to face the fact that they exist to kill other people,
Right.
and that's tough. And unfortunately, I do think that historically sometimes it is necessary,
Yeah.
but
I don't. I think that if people could just be fucking cool, we'd be all right. So,
Well, obviously, if
let's
people-
get that going, motherfuckers.
if people
It seems
could
like
be
a
cool-
lot less energy than killing motherfuckers.
It does, but I have to say, like we're talking about the shootings, the Dayton, Ohio. I mean, if what they say is true, that the guy was neutralized, and because that's basically broad rifle,
Yeah.
and this guy's neutralized in 30 seconds. They killed him in 30 seconds,
Yeah.
and that's. I mean, there's some cops. That,
Well, that's So here's my thing. That is defensive violence is totally acceptable. If you catch the guy in the middle of it, and that's how you stop it is by killing him, fucking A. But the minute that he stops, you've lost. I don't know. You've kind of lost the right to kill him. I don't know. As a police officer, now a citizen, go ahead and meet out your fucking shit and take your chances in court, and nobody will fucking. Nobody would find that guy guilty. But I mean, the police have a response, and they've been in a lot of areas. The police abuse their responsibilities.
Well,
They don't take they don't take their job seriously. They're not professional. They're a bunch of overgrown children who never dealt with their emotional issues, and they're taking it out on other people. And they enjoy the power, whatever. And that's just, and you can give me this bad apple bullshit anytime you want to, but the rest of that is the bad apple spoils the bunch.
And
it's not just a bad apple. If you don't get rid of the bad apples, then you're fucked.
But there is, I think there's a way to do that. But yeah, defensive violence is necessary.
Yeah,
And,
but I mean, you shouldn't be. I don't understand how we as a country act surprised when this shit happens, when the answer that our leaders always have is violence. Every problem, it's either economic violence by imposing sanctions on other countries, or we directly attack them, or we supply and arm and aid the countries who are directly attacking their civilians, and then we wonder why we have violence at home. The police kill with impunity in a lot of cases, and we've seen videotapes of this, and we've seen cops get paid for PTSD after they've murdered somebody. A guy crying on his face, trying to pull up his pants, isn't a danger. And I've seen cops shoot guys who are 4 feet away from him when the guy is clearly unarmed and he knows he's unarmed. Use a goddamn billy club if you're going to do something. Hit the fucking dude. We got it for a reason. These guys are professionals. We don't let our troops do that shit. If a troop shot a civilian who acted like that towards him in another country, he'd be on trial.
He'd be in Leavenworth.
Yeah. But we allow our police to do this shit. The cop shot the lady the other day who's doll. And it's good. It's not good. It's sad that videos of this shit happening to white people finally has to happen before more and more people are starting to get pissed. But we're actually starting to see a little bit of a change in this way, where more and more people
hold
are
on.
starting.
Now, I'm gonna pause you there. So you mentioned a few minutes ago that of the 200 plus mass shootings, when the majority of those are centered in areas like Baltimore and Chicago and Los Angeles, but a majority of that is gang violence, and there is not any particular race other than that means typically not white race,
Right.
Gang violence. So that's all shoved to the side.
Yeah.
But if the fact is, if it wasn't a majority, would we be up in arms about these shootings? Everyone wants to talk about white nationalism right now, but the majority of the victims are white.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing. It doesn't matter what it is, what kind of violence it is, whether it's a mass shooting, gang violence, whatever, blah, blah, blah. It's always almost always between people who look like each other, because that's who you hang out with, that's who you live with, that's who you work with.
And I'm not saying that justifies anything
No.
or justifies the outrage, but that means it is a degree of perpetuated racism in the media and amongst people that we are so up in arms and up in arms, huh? Nice, but that we're so upset about Dayton and El Paso, and El Paso, there was obviously a racial bent by the alleged shooter, but the fact is,
That's typically not it, though. It's usually not.
we should be outraged by all of
Yeah.
it. We
No,
should
we should be. And that's why I said I think that it's just the people being innocent bystanders, just people out and about doing their thing. I mean, it's really shocking to people, and that's why they're so freaked out about it. And then in this case, it's sad that I don't care why the guy did it. To me, if you kill somebody, fuck you. I don't care why you fucking did it. I wish that he would have been shot in his fucking face before he could be apprehended.
Well, he surrendered.
Yeah, I know, but I wish he would have been shot in the face while he was doing it. Which makes me question it because these people are almost always huge cowards that kill themselves. It makes him look like a patsy, the fact that he surrendered and was taken alive. But besides that, I don't.
So are you saying you question the story that we're being presented in the media?
Absolutely. I think that the guy the next day was probably the real deal. Maybe. Or a copycat type deal or some shit. Or some fucking coward, whatever he was. But I think that we can't forget the fact that our government's been known to manipulate people, to radicalize people, and use them for their own agendas. And I think that we need to look at it very strange when a couple of people are saying, at least, that there were more than one shooter. And then that gets quickly drowned out. And then the police say that there are 3 people in custody, or it gets leaked that there are 3 people in custody, whatever, then that quickly gets drowned back down to 1 person in custody. And then very rarely are these people apprehended. They almost always kill themselves once confronted by an armed individual. And this guy looked like just as big of a coward as the rest of them. Maybe he was different. I don't know.
I haven't read that much about it. I mean, like the Las Vegas shooting, like I'm fully convinced that the story we were painted about that, like that was total horseshit.
Yeah. But it doesn't matter. I mean, I think that I don't question that people were killed.
Oh no,
and
I know.
It doesn't matter why. It doesn't matter how it's happening or why it's happening, really, when it comes down to it. But the fact of the matter is that I find it personally hard to care about guns because I don't give a shit about guns that much. I have a few and I'll keep them, and if I need them, whatever. But I have shotguns and rifles. I don't have any of these assault weapons that they're worried about. So it's not. But it doesn't matter. You have to. It's the fact of the matter is that. We live in a country that goes around the world being a bully, and the only thing keeping us from being invaded is the fact that there are armed people here. I believe that because our military is too spread out. I mean, a lot of bases, they're not even allowed to have weapons unless they're doing firing training right then. They can't have any ammo and weapons and shit. What are these guys here to do? Are they here to protect us, or are they here to play death squad for multinational corporations?
Yeah, I don't think that's too far off. But yeah, I agree with you that there's and there were leaked documents after.
And how fucking racist is gun control, by the way? You want to take away the ability of the people that the left, the same people who want to take guns away are the same people who are telling us that Trump's a Nazi and that cops are racist and shit. And you want to leave black people unarmed in the neighborhoods and shit like that? Or people who live in those neighborhoods who are innocent, who just can't get out. You want to leave them unarmed from the bad elements in those neighborhoods? Sorry, go ahead.
No, I agree with you. I think that, responsible gun ownership, and we touched on that already, but that is important. I had a friend who came over this summer because his house had been broken into, or his car, and then his car once and his house twice, and one time while they were home.
Oh yeah.
And he was tripped, and he was seriously considering buying a gun, and that was one of the things. And he wanted to talk to me about how to fix his house, but buying a gun, and I'm like, dude, I get how you're feeling, And so we talked about like what kind of gun and everything, and I'm like, you need to go take like go take a gun, like a defensive shooting course class, and learn how to use that. But you also need to think very carefully, like where you live and everything. Like I have just a couple of guns, and if I shot some dude with my rifle in my house, I would be worried that I would hit somebody else in the house across the cul-de-sac.
Yeah.
Because I mean, a 44 Magnum could go through the person, through my front door, and across the street and through a window, no problem. And that trips me out. So I won't. And then he asked me, and he's like, "Would you ever do that?" And I'm like, I don't think I would. I mean, I wouldn't have a problem hitting somebody, but I don't. I just don't think that I would do that. But you know, everyone wants to say that, you know, how they'd respond in a heated situation. I do think the whole home defense argument for firearms, though, is about the most ridiculous thing perpetuated by the NRA that I have ever heard.
Why do you say that?
Because if you fall asleep on this couch right here, and your dog barks, and because someone and you hear the glass break or you hear the lock break, and someone's in your house, like you realize something's off. How fast can you be up from this couch with a gun drawn on them?
Well, that's not the point, though. It's not. They could come while I was up around doing something or whatever. I mean, you heard about there's a 10-year-old kid who had to kill 2 people who broke into their house the other day. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, but they had just killed a guy. They had a gun, and they had just killed a guy at the house and stolen that gun from him at the previous place. So, yeah, it didn't work for that guy. He got his gun stolen, or knife, or whatever the fuck it was. And then the kid defended himself. So, I mean, I don't think it's as...
No, I don't think it's...
There's only one argument you need. Mind your own motherfucking business, dude. It's what it is. You can't... Listen, motherfuckers. Here's the deal. You can't arrest people for thinking about something. If we could, we'd all be in fucking jail.
Oh my gosh, that's...
Okay? You can't fucking do it. You can't arrest people because they have an idea that you think is gross and disgusting. I don't fucking like white supremacists either. We can't arrest them just for being fucking douchebags. But the minute they turn violent, bash them in the fucking skull. Drag their ass off. I don't give a fuck. But up until then, mind your own motherfucking business. Or it's okay to, I don't care if you deride them and talk about it, but it's none of your business what people have with their guns either. I mean, outside of the people who are committing crimes, you know, whatever. People do all sorts of shit I disagree with that's dangerous. People feed their kids caffeine. Get the fuck out of here. You're addicting your kid to a drug before they have a fucking chance to make up their own mind. And you want to lecture me about fucking gun that I've been trained to use since I was 6 years old? Suck my dick. And on that note, folks, have a great night. Thanks for listening. Justin, thanks for coming out, dude.
That was amazing. Thanks for having me over again.
Hey, I know we didn't really even scratch the surface. We'll probably fucking hit on this again. If somebody wants to come on and yell at us about why we're wrong, I'll fucking do that too.
Bring it.
I don't really care. Yeah. Till next time, be fucking cool, folks.